Welcome to Attic Raiders Retro Reviews, where today we're going to be taking a look at the new Stargrave Scavengers box set from North Star Military Figures, which was just released in July last month. These are of course figures for the Stargrave wargame, which was published by Osprey Games and written by Joseph McCulloch. Now, Stargrave has been written specifically to be miniature agnostic, so you can play it with any miniatures you have at all. You don't need to buy a specific line. However, having said that, North Star Military Figures have brought out specific figures made specially for Stargrave. This pack of Scavengers is the 6th box set which North Star have brought out. The other ones being Crew, Crew 2, Mercenaries, Mercenaries 2 and Troopers. This scavenger box set is for creating miniatures which could be part of your Stargrave crew, but are probably more likely to be the pirates that are attacking the crew or ruffians found on the planets where you're going to try and find loot. Unlike some of the clean-cut and futuristic crew figures from previous sets, there's going to be a lot more weathered clothing and weaponry in this pack, more reminiscent of what might be found in the wastelands of the galaxy. These kits are going to have enough to build 20 miniatures with a lot of pieces left over. Now that's going to be made up from 4 identical sprues, each sprue being able to create 5 figures. So let's take one of the sprues and take a good look at it. So here is one of our 4 scavenger sprues, and you can see here the 5 bodies that we can build onto and all of the different arms, heads and pieces of kit that can go onto them. Now obviously the legs on these bodies are integral. You can't change the legs, but you can change everything else. Pouches, gun arms, heads, extra melee equipment, pouches, slings, backpacks, everything on here you can mix and match, so you can customize your figures however you want, which is one of the really great things with these Stargrave kits and one of the reasons why I really love them. The other thing is, other than being able to swap everything within this sprue, all of the Stargrave kits are compatible with each other, so I can take pieces from this scavenger sprue and I can swap them and make up new figures using parts from the mercenaries or the troopers or the crew sprues, because they all fit together perfectly. You can see here the bodies that we're going for have got these long kind of coats on them here. If I switch this upside down, we'll see these other ones, which is quite different from some of the previous Stargrave crew members. So obviously scavengers, we're going for dusters and that kind of thing. There doesn't seem to be an awful lot of small handguns on this sprue. Most of the guns seem to be quite large carbines, which are used during the game, but they are really nice. Stargrave has a bit of a simplified, rounded aesthetic to it. It could be, because obviously these are styrene sprues, so it could be as detailed and as sharp as GW sprues, but aesthetically Stargrave seems to have a lot of rounded corners and simplified details, which I actually like because it gives you more options with paint and figuring out what things are, because you can interpret different parts in different ways. For example, this part round here on this body, this could be a necklace, it could be a collar, or it could be simply be part of this undergarment here. There's different ways of interpreting these things. These ones seem to be a little bit more detailed than previous ones. In previous Stargrave crew sprues, what things are is a lot more up to interpretation, so you can paint them in different ways. We've got a mixture of human heads, alien heads, and of course, being scavengers, we've got ones with respirators, ones with the classic Stargrave laser monocle. If you've seen previous Stargrave kits, you will know that this is something that they add two heads quite often in order to swap them up, change them about a bit. Something that's quite different is we've actually got some heads and some hands here in order to make zombies, which we haven't had in any of the previous Stargrave kits, which is good because we definitely do need zombies for some of the campaigns, particularly in Quarantine 37. Something to note before I start clipping things here though is that this is Stargrave Scavengers 1, and this 1 here makes me think that there is very probably going to be a Stargrave Scavengers 2 sprue coming out at some point down the line. As well as being very detailed, you can see that there's also been a lot of thought put into the layout on the sprue of where all the pieces go. So we've got heads together at the bottom and at the top. We've got all the zombie parts together, and something else that's worth noting is that if you have a look at the guns and some of the arms which are designed for holding things, they tend to be next to each other. So this arm here with this gun in it has got a number 17 on the shoulder joint here. And if I look at this holding arm here, it also has got a number 17 on it. So arms, holding arms, tend to be next to the weapons that they are supposed to be holding, which makes things a lot easier for, obviously, if you want to have your person holding something with both hands. However, I'm going to clip all of these pieces off, which kind of negates that slightly, but I'll still be able to tell which parts go together from the numbers on them if I want to use that. And then we'll take a much closer look at some of these details. These sprues are also nicely laid out so that there is very easy ways of clipping all of these, and they are not going to accidentally take off any pieces of detail, which you shouldn't. They've been well laid out so that the sprue connection points are quite far away from any fiddly bits, which means that we're not going to lose any detail accidentally. So let's take a proper look at what we actually get on one single sprue from this box. As you can see, these scavengers have mainly got very large guns here. There are only 3 handguns of some form, but there are 12 different types of carbines with 12 hands which can be used for holding them. I've compared these to the guns from the previous Stargrave kits, and although some of them are exceptionally similar, they all do appear to be different sculpts with no duplication. Though some of them do appear to be basically the same, but with a little bit of wrapping added to them. These 4 with the wide chunky barrels at the end are definitely a new design though, and it's really nice to see some more really big guns. We've got a couple of melee weapons here, but not very many, with our hatchet, our machete and our mace which are being held, and a hatchet, a mace and a machete which are free of hands, which can be attached to belts. And we've got 2 closed fist hands which can just be used for posing. Over here we've got our zombie set, we've got 2 straight arms and 2 bent arms. We've got 2 human zombie heads and 2 alien zombie heads. One from Stargrave's corpse-like alien species and one from their large-brained, almost feline species. Whereas the larger pieces definitely seem to be brand new sculpts, the smaller pieces appear to be exactly the same as what we've had in previous kits. We've got some grenades, we've got pouches of bullets, a water bottle, some additional general pouches and some ammo pouches. We've got clips and pouches for clips, and we've got holsters with guns in them and without. It's worth noting the backpacks here because I think they really do exemplify the fact that I think that this scavenger sprue is a lot more detailed than previous ones. These 2 are from the scavenger sprue and this one is from a previous Stargrave sprue, and you can see overall the amount of detail on these 2 compared to this one is a lot more. We've got ropes and extra pouches added onto them, and we've even just got folds in the material here which aren't present at all on this previous piece. Again, great detail on the bodies, and if you compare them to this body here, which I believe is from the original Crew box set, you can see that the details just appear to be a little bit sharper. And of course, being scavengers, we've got these little nicks and cuts on their clothing, but nothing that would really overall detract from using them in your crew. Not counting the zombies, we've got 19 different heads to choose from. 9 of the heads are human, or what might be human, because this one here is just really a hood with a respirator, so you can't really see what species this one is at all. These 4 obviously are all wearing hats. This one's head is completely bandaged with a pair of goggles on their eyes, and these 4 here have all got hoods on their heads with these 2 wearing respirators. We then get to the 10 alien heads, and it doesn't appear that they've introduced any new species into this box set from previous box sets, but we've got previous species of aliens which have been added to a little bit in order to make them appear different. We've got one of our fish head person here with a hood and a laser monocle. We've got our strange bug-eyed person here in a hood. We've got our chimpanzee wearing some kind of respirator and goggles here. Our big brain species, which is the same as our zombie here, one of them with a scarf over its mouth, the other with a laser monocle. 2 more of our corpse-like species, again the same as this zombie here, one of them with some glasses and a strange chin piece, and one of them wearing a cap. We've got our Cyclops, who appears throughout Stargrave quite often, with this one wearing a hat. Our 4-eyed species, this one wearing some kind of metal face mask here, and what could be any species at all, including human. Kind of looks like a screaming robot here at the moment, but it has got this gas mask piece here which plugs into the front. There's fairly noticeable seam lines on all of these bodies, but those will scrape off really easily and get cleaned up so that you can't see them. The numbered arms, which go into matching pairs, actually work really well in order to get this nice holding action here. They really go together easily, and it looks really natural. Now, while the backpacks are really well sculpted and are a big improvement on the previous backpacks from different kits, they are not the best when it comes to fitting them onto the backs of these scavengers. The curvature of the backpacks doesn't quite match the curvature of any of these backs, so it's a little bit off. It's not too bad, it doesn't make a big difference to the finished figure, but when you're trying to get it exactly in place, it's a little off. It could be better matching the curvature to get these to go on really well, although actually that's not too bad. But out of all of the fits, the backpacks onto the backs are probably the ones that's the worst in this kit. So there we go, 5 completed Stargrave Scavengers ready for painting. Now these are pretty much all from that one scavenger sprue, but I'm not a big fan of the beanie hats in space, so this Cyclops head here is not the one that comes with the scavenger sprue, but is instead from one of the other Stargrave kits. I think this one's a mercenary's head. There also weren't enough backpacks for everybody to have one, so this guy here has got one of the other box set backpacks. I think this one's from the Crew box. And this guy here's actually got a Cadian backpack from Games Workshop. Other than that though, everybody else is completed using only pieces from the scavenger sprue. And it gives us a really nice range of miniatures with different weapons in very different poses. If you're a Stargrave fan, then you should definitely see about picking these up, and if you're not, well, you probably should be. Overall, this is a really worthy addition to anyone who's a fan of Stargrave, and the quality of the sculpts and the crispness and the detail seems to be the best yet. Do you have this kit? Have you built any of the other Stargrave kits? If you have, let me know in the comments down below, and how did you get on with them? What do you think of this range of miniatures? Thanks for tuning in once again, and we'll see you next time on Attic Raiders Retro Reviews.